What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up, you guys? Happy Monday. It feels like I have not seen you guys in what seems to be a real long time. It is I've definitely missed these daily manners. As you guys can see, instead of us being outside today, we are indeed in the comfort of the house because this Mississippi heat and this humidity, it is not playing at all. I pray that you guys have been doing well and that you guys have been catching up on the other daily manners. If you have not yet had a chance to do so, as always, as we get prepared for this morning's daily manna, go ahead and let me know. We'll go ahead and first tell God thank you and tell us what you're grateful for. Even if you're catching this thing on the replay, go ahead and let us know that you are catching this thing from the replay in itself. I will today. It's a very special day for me. Today, I am grateful for my aunt's life. Today, she would have been 77. And it has been, I'm going to be for real, it has been an emotional morning. Yesterday, I had emotional moment. At the end of the day, celebrate her life today. And so that is one of the many things that I am great. What's up, Visha? That's one of the many things that I am grateful for on today. I'm grateful for fresh air in my lungs. I'm just grateful, even just for how far God has brought me in. Lastly, I'll say I'm giving y'all some extras today. Thank you so much. I am also just grateful that the things that the devil meant to destroy me, that they really carried no weight at all. I feel like we don't thank God enough for just the simple fact that sometimes the devil really be trying to take us out, but God is such a good God that no matter how hard the devil comes, no matter how far we get knocked down, he never lets the devil get not a single W over us. And so as you guys can see, today's title is today's title of today's daily manna is be consistent. Come on, grateful for God's love and God's care. I know that's right. I'm gonna say it again. Be consistent. This morning has been a morning apart from God letting me just have my emotional moments about my aunt and her birthday being today. It's also been a morning of God dealing with my heart about like consistency. More so about like the stop and start cycles that many of us find ourselves in. I'm gonna say it this way. A lot of times we find ourselves in these stop and start cycles while we're waiting on God. It's kind of like, I don't know if y'all have ever like felt like this. So it's kind of like sometimes when you're waiting on God, God can be leading you. That's a bird. Sometimes, my bad, y'all. Sometimes he can be leading you to do a thing, and it's like, you'll start doing it, and sometimes it ain't that, that things happen to specifically stop us from moving in that area. But sometimes the load can be so heavy in your process that you just don't have the strength to just continue on. And so a lot of times we find ourselves in these stop and start cycles. And I'm gonna just say this morning, God revealed to me, just to the certain degree of my own level of entitlement in certain areas, meaning, feeling as if I shouldn't have to be uncomfortable, or that consistency or showing up in an area shouldn't inconvenience me because God, I'm going through all these other things, at least this area can be busy. And so one of the things that he showed me, like even in that cycle, and I feel like this is more common in everyone, more common than not common, how sometimes we can really have rough lives. We can go through rough things. And even in moderators, please be on the lookout for trolls. I just feel it in my spirit. But I feel like we all go through those phases where life just gets rough. The season of life that you're in, or the circumstances that you've had to endure, they are just sometimes just so rough that it's like, God, how can I fight this and, fight to remain consistent? And I feel like it's like that for a lot of people, just simply because we don't have enough energy for a lot of it. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, Bo, no. If that makes sense, just give me some fire emojis. And if you guys can do me a favor and go ahead and click that thumbs up button while you guys are here. But that's just kind of where I've been dealing with. So this morning, God was dealing with me about seeing progress in a certain area. And what he told me is that if you can be consistent, enough, you will see me move in this area. And he highlighted like previous years. And for me, this area was like health. he highlighted like previous years, and he's like, yeah, you were never really just fully consistent. You had consistent moments, and then trauma set in, and then you just kind of gave yourself an out to just not show up anymore. And times, it resulted in me being angry or upset with God because I feel like, God, I'm showing up and I'm not seeing results. The entire time it was me that was not really being consistent. And I'm gonna just say this: meeting the requirements for any type of growth in any area of your life, meeting the requirements for even outside of growth, for just your blessings, for just elevation and increase in life, it is something that will inconvenience you, and it's something that will be uncomfortable. But I feel like a lot of times we go through traumatic experiences, and so when it's actually time for us to put forth the work in areas that actually matter to us, a lot of times we find ourselves just not willing to do what it takes and running from that feeling of being uncomfortable. And that was like one of the things that he highlighted. Like, you've been uncomfortable in going through things and having to endure things that it subconsciously turned into you running from showing up in the areas that would produce the very thing that like you were believing me for. And so I say all of this to ask this question: for those of you guys that are here, that are believing God for things, that are waiting for God to do a certain thing in your life, or maybe you just say, T, I've had a rough life, and showing up in this season in whatever the area is, it is extremely hard. My question is, are you fully giving God 100%, even in the moments of you being uncomfortable, or have you subconsciously began to run and show up just a little bit and say, God, I ain't showing up 100%? Because like, if I can be for real, like, this was me, like, in the past. I'm like, God, I'm showing up. And the truth of the matter is, yes, I was showing up, but I wasn't consistently showing up in a way that really gave God something to work with. And because I wasn't showing up in a way that gave God something to work with, like, my reality didn't change. And I'm going to just say this: sometimes when we don't really show up in a way that gives God something to work with, sometimes things remain the same, and sometimes the situation or the circumstance gets a little bit worse until we get to the point where we have no choice but to do what God wants us to do. Even now, like, he's reminding me of something that he used to tell me. Everybody talks about how God is a God of free will, and he is a God of free will. However, I think that people get it misconstrued, because God is also a God that his will go forth, whether by choice or by force. So either we freely walk down the path that God has for us, or life will push us into doing exactly what God needs us to do. And so a lot of times when we're just not willing to do the work, or when we're accustomed to running when things are uncomfortable, a lot of times God will give us an opportunity to like willingly show up in the way that we need to. And if we can't do that, he will let the situation get so bad to where you have no choice but to walk down the path and to show up the way that you need to show up. And so even now he's reminding me of like when it was time for me to get a vehicle. And this was maybe like 2018-ish. Hey, Alyssa, 2018-ish, 2019. And I remember like looking and feeling like so like overwhelmed and so discouraged and even like upset with God, because God, you promised me this. I'm looking and I'm not seeing anything. And so at one point I was looking prematurely, but then at the second point, and I'm gonna say this, even in me looking prematurely, God had a plan even in that. And one thing that I'll say about me looking prematurely, because let's be real, sometimes we do try to pursue prematurely. Sometimes we do look prematurely. I feel like God used that in order to get me to a place of surrenderance, a place where I would just be willing to receive what he wanted to give me. But then it like trickled over from that to me just feeling like, it's never gonna happen, and me being so discouraged that I did not want to look. And one day God told me, he says, how are you going to like get what I'm promising you if you refuse to like look? Like, you're not wanting to look on these car websites, you're not wanting to do it. How are you gonna get what I promised you? And I feel like in a way that is the same message that God is sending today. Like, there are certain things that all of us want, certain levels of increase, certain levels of, entering into prosperity, entering into another level of God's favor, God's protection. However, there is also a requirement that we all must meet. And so, I say all of this to say, are you doing the work that's necessary to see the progress that you desire to see? I'm going to drink me some coffee. I forgot I had it. I'm going to say it again. Are you doing the work that is required for you to see the progress that you desire to see, right? And I must also say this: a lot of times because we all fall short. Let's be real. Sometimes we all run. Sometimes we all don't show up. And I feel like a lot of times when we don't show up or when we do fall short, the devil will try to get us into a place of where we are operating under the realm of just being ashamed, shame that I'm not showing up. And I'm gonna just say this: if the devil can get you to a place where you feel ashamed, he can get you to he can also trick you into not moving towards what God has for you. He can trick you into feeling like, what's the use in me showing up? And so, that is kind of today's word. That is like where God has had me at today. It's just about doing the work and understanding that in giving God something to work with, you are going to be uncomfortable. It is going to require discipline. And even in things requiring discipline and and I'm gonna just say this: discipline makes you suffer just a tiny bit in the beginning. Until discipline becomes your normal, you feel like you're suffering a little bit okay. I'm gonna say it again. Discipline makes you feel like you're suffering. I don't care what nobody say. It makes you feel like you're suffering. But the thing that I love about God is that even in us having to suffer just a little bit, God will help us if we need help. Even this weekend, as I found myself tapping into a different realm of discipline, like I'm like, Lord, help me, because I'm trying to show up. I'm trying to give you something to work with. Like, please help me. And that's the thing that I love about God, is that he knows that sometimes it's hard showing up. Sometimes it's hard being disciplined. But if you ask him for the help that you need, he will always give you a door out of whatever is tempting you. And I'm going to just say this: whenever we are working towards becoming a better version of ourselves or changing in a way that pushes us ahead, the devil will always provide some sort of temptation for us to go back to what's comfortable, for us to remain the same, or for us to make the same decisions that we've always made. And sometimes making the choice to be better is harder than the choice to, than the choice to change. And so sometimes we do, hey Samantha, sometimes we do have to ask God, help me, because I'm trying, and the temptation to remain the same is a lot greater than my than my desire to change. Sometimes we do have to say, Lord, Lord, please help me. Like, help me not backslide. Help me be better, right? Especially when your heart really desires change. Sometimes it's okay, and I feel like we need to normalize saying, God, this is hard, this is uncomfortable. And because it's so hard and uncomfortable, it makes me want to retreat. It makes me say, I don't want to change. It makes me say, you know what? If I got to do that, I don't want it. Sometimes we have to normalize that, but we also have to normalize saying, God, help me. Instead of me copping out, instead of me just, becoming the ultimate procrastinator where I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow, God. I'm going to change the next time it comes around, or I'm going to make the right decision, the next. Sometimes we have to just tough it out and say, Lord, help me. Like, remove the temptation. Show me the way out. Show me how not to, keep doing the same thing. And I'm just a firm believer that when we pray those prayers, and when God knows that they're rooted in just a heart that really wants to please him, there's no lengths that he will go through to not help you. There's no lengths that he will not go through to ensure that you have every single thing that you need. And so, do the work. That's it. Do the work. Discipline hurts in the beginning, but it blesses you in the end. It's a work that we all have to do to get to where we're trying to go. And the stop and start cycles, sometimes the stop and start cycles is God's timing. It's God slowing us down from moving too fast. And sometimes the stop and start cycles are because of us. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to, do a whole lot of things. And so that is it. That is today's daily manna. If this has blessed you, can you do me a favor and tell God thank you? Also, if you have not clicked that thumbs up button, please go ahead and click that thumbs up button. We are about to shift over to TikTok. I have a busy day. The Lord says the same, going to my aunt's grave to clean it off, put some flowers on it, and I'm going to finish the rest of this day. To those of you guys that feel led to sow, the ways to sow, I didn't even put it in the description, but the ways to sow are right there. That is really it. That's all I got. I can't add nothing to it. I can't take away anything from it. I pray that this week is nothing short of a blessed week, a prosperous week, a joy-filled week for every single person that is tuning in. If you have not caught our other, daily manners, please be sure to do so. Also, we got like a week and a half before like the sale for the coaching sessions is null and voided. So if you want to take advantage of those one-on-one sessions with me, please go ahead and get your session. Even if you say, Ti, I don't need it right now, but I may need it in the future. You can also do it and tide it over for whenever you think that you will need it. And so that is it. I love y'all. I'm rooting for you guys. And so until next time, y'all. Peace. And if you are not busy, go ahead and shift with us over to TikTok Live right now. ThoughtsbyT is the name. I'll see y'all later.